When I started breaking through, I didn't know exactly where this would lead. I just knew that I wanted to have very vulnerable, very honest conversations about transformation, about growth, about moments that wake us up to who we really are. I wanted it to, each week as we recorded with a new guest, for it to also reflect my journey, because I know that my journey is not unique to me. So many of you are probably going through or went through the exact same thing. So now, 45 episodes in, I can say that this podcast has changed me in ways that I never expected. Each guest has brought a piece of clarity, wisdom that has helped me see myself and my life in a completely new way. We've talked about heartbreak, we've talked about healing, faith, fear, letting go, and letting go so that you can start again, so that you can make space in your life for what's new and what's trying to come through. So with this episode, it's a chance to look back at some of my favorite conversations that I have found to be the most impactful, moments that reminded me that breaking through is really not about arriving somewhere perfect. In fact, it's anything but that. It's really about surrendering and learning to soften, to expand our hearts, our consciousness, the way we see things, in order for us to really step closer to our own truth. These conversations, you guys, are ones that truly stayed with me long after the camera stopped rolling. So you'll notice in this episode, the overarching theme is really spirituality, and the person who changed the spiritual landscape for me completely is David Ghiyam. He's a friend of mine. He's a mentor. He's someone I've known for a year. We've had several coffee dates just talking about this very thing. And I was so moved, not only by studying Kabbalah, but through the way that David explains Kabbalah. So I really wanted to invite him on for you guys to understand why I fell in love with this, because it's not a religion. It's actually a spiritual wisdom that goes beyond religion. It's not dogmatic, and it feels deeply human. In this highlight, he shares how spiritual laws govern every part of our lives, from how we love, to how we heal, to how we manifest things in our lives, how we expand our vessel, how feminine energy works, how masculine energy works, how light can transform the darkness. It's really all about understanding what Kabbalah stands for, and just having a very open mind. I love revisiting these moments because it reminds me that faith isn't just something that we believe in, it's something we practice every day, and how we respond to life and how we choose to show up for ourselves. I really want my listeners to understand Kabbalah through you. Okay. How would you explain Kabbalah? What is it?
So Kabbalah is ancient, universal, spiritual wisdom that explains the technology of the soul. And so when I look at even my following, my audience, it's comprised of every religious background, even people who do not have a religion or a spiritual path. Because in the same way that we have physical laws in this world that explain how we need to conduct our lives, that we have the law of gravity, that whether you believe in it or not, it exists. And the more you understand it, obviously you're going to be safe. There are spiritual laws, laws of finding your soulmate, laws of consciousness, laws of healing, spiritual laws around how to create miracles in this world. So Kabbalah is explaining all of the behind the scenes energies that are at play. Mm-hmm. And so when people start to learn Kabbalah, it brings meaning into anything and everything that they do. And whatever spiritual path they're on or religious background they're part of starts to have a much deeper meaning. You begin to understand the why of everything that's happening in your life.
Mm-hmm. And you see, I find instant results with Kabbalah. If you can internalize it and practice it, you see the results almost immediately.
Yeah, a lot of people, because I've been studying Kabbalah for about 26 years. I'm 41 now, and I started when I was 15. And first seminar I went to absolutely changed my life, because as a teenager, I had a lot going on, but I heard so much truth in what was being said, and I started to apply it. And I started to see miracles right away. And then I devoted my life to it after I graduated college. So when I was 19, I went into the nonprofit world to just teach it all around the world. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And there's other things that I do, but this is my passion of how to bring this wisdom to the world and give back. And the reason why it works so well is because so many people who are part of so many different spiritual paths eventually are looking for the thing that brings it all together. And what Kabbalah does so beautifully is it connects all the dots and it brings everything together. A lot of spiritual lessons that we've all learned in life through pain, through hard work, through breaking through things and being successful, there's a lot inside of us innately that we understand. And what Kabbalah does is it gives it meaning, it gives it a name, connects all the dots, and now you have a system of how to live your life.
Right. I find that a lot of people think of Kabbalah and think of a specific religion.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with religion. This is a spiritual wisdom. So what are the principles of Kabbalah, the basic principles?
Okay. So yeah, a lot of people associate it with Judaism, and there's obviously a whole history lesson around where religion even came from, how there was no religion initially, there was spirituality. And these great souls that walk this earth, whether it's Abraham or Moses or Jesus or Muhammad, they were given a level of wisdom from the upper worlds to help humanity achieve what I'll explain in a moment, which is essentially what Kabbalah is. They were all Kabbalists. They understood the framework of this universe. Religion was created later, and there was a reason for that as well. But it's very important for people to understand that when you're studying Kabbalah, you're not studying a religion. You're studying a spiritual path. So the basic premise of Kabbalah is that there are two forces in this world that we call the light of the Creator, which represents an infinite force of sharing, abundance, fulfillment. Everything we're looking for in life to make us happy and fulfilled exists in this force. This force is infinite and it is everywhere. And it has already given everything. So this energy is all around us. The second force in this world is what we call the desire to receive, which is the vessel, which for our purposes are all the souls of humanity. So we are here to receive this energy, this light. And the idea is that because anything you receive for free, you cannot truly understand or appreciate or enjoy, right? If I gave my child all my abundance or wealth or handed the company to him, he might feel good about that when he reaches maybe 18 or 20 years old, but he'll never have the level of fulfillment as if he created himself. Because our soul was created to receive and manifest, but the source of our soul came from the Creator, which is a force of giving and a force of creation. So unless we co-create, unless we participate in creation, unless we experience darkness and create our own light, we're not going to experience maximum fulfillment. So the souls came to this world, a world of darkness, separated from really all the things that we're looking for in life. We're not born with our soulmate. We're not born knowing what our purpose is in life. We're born with so many different challenges. We have relationship challenges. We have family challenges. We have siblings that maybe we do or do not get along with. We have health challenges. But all of these challenges and all this darkness, the soul asked for and pre-wrote from a destiny point of view to experience in order to have the free will to become like the Creator. So Kabbalah basically starts there and then says, your purpose in this world is to become like the Creator. Well, what does that mean? So we explain all the qualities of the Creator, all the vibrations of the Creator. And then every day from the moment you wake up, the question you need to ask yourself is, how do I achieve that vibration? How do I achieve the level of, for example, certainty? Certainty is probably one of the most prominent qualities that exists in the Creator. The Creator doesn't have anxiety or doubt or fear. The Creator is a force of certainty, feeling whole and being complete. So my mission every day is not to find what my passion is or who the love of my life is or how to make money. Those will happen naturally when your main goal, your number one goal, is to become like the Creator. So certainty would be like one of the qualities we talk about when we're teaching Kabbalah in our master classes. And then we talk about the tools and the process you go through to achieve that consciousness. And then you also learn what happens to your soul when you have certainty, and then what happens to your environment and your surroundings. It's just incredibly fascinating. And then it just awakens a person's soul when they learn it.
It's so beautiful. I mean, when you think about it, right? It's to be godlike. It's to work on the vessel. It's to essentially be connected to yourself, to source, to God, to spirituality. That's all you need to focus on.
Right.
Okay, so how did you connect to this message at such a young age? Because most of us in high school or in college, we're not thinking about spirituality.
From a very young age, I just felt I just had a big desire. I didn't know what to do with it. And when I was 14, I channeled that energy. I always did very well in school, but I channeled that energy more into like learning how I could make money.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing poker, for example, and I started doing very well there. I started to try to understand the stock market, and I started to trade and did it all under kind of my parents' account. But I made my first $1 million when I was 15 years old. And all of this energy started to come my way, but I didn't really understand what I was doing. I didn't understand the dynamics of it, and it wasn't really fulfilling. I just knew I wanted something more, but the money itself also wasn't what I wanted. And so my uncle, who has been studying Kabbalah for 15, 20 years, he saw in my soul what I was craving, and he said to me, come to a Kabbalah seminar with me. And I was skeptical at first because I was very anti-religion, anti-anything that tells me what to do. But he explained to me, no, it's spirituality. You're going to love it. And that first seminar kind of showed me, wow. At first I said to myself, if I learn Kabbalah, I could be the most powerful person in the world. That was the selfish thought I had. I said,
well, that's the teenager.
Right, that's the teenager. I said, well, this is like, I'm going to be more powerful than all my friends. I'm going to be more successful. I'm going to just like be able to handle every challenge better. I saw that right then and there. Mm-hmm. So maybe I entered it kind of for the wrong reason, but as I started to apply it and see the blessings and the miracles, it morphed into something much more altruistic and fulfilling. Now, that being said, I want everybody to know, when you study Kabbalah, you should not be apologetic about the fact that your birthright is to receive everything. Mm-hmm. It's not about shrinking your desire. In fact, it's about expanding your desire. If you want to be a billionaire, that means the Creator wants you to be one. If you want to be powerful and famous, there's no shame in that. The reason you have this desire is because it exists, causing you to desire it. The Creator put this desire in you so that you pursue it and manifest it. The way we go about it is where Kabbalah gets involved. And the fact that we should not have shame about being a receiver is where Kabbalah gets involved. And then Kabbalah also shows you the most direct path to get there. Kind of like if I'm trying to get to a destination, like I'm coming from Beverly Hills to Glendale to film with you, I put it in my GPS. I put it in my Waze. Waze tells me the exact direct path to get there. Now, I kind of know the area and I could assume I know the best way to get here, but I'm not keeping in mind the fact that it was raining today and there are accidents and there's traffic in certain areas. And if I just use my ego or my five senses to get here, mm-hmm. I'm never going to be as efficient as if I put it in the GPS. So Kabbalah explains how you connect to the universal GPS to guide you to where you need to go.
I love that. Okay, I think to really understand Kabbalah, we have to understand what it is to cleanse the vessel, to prime the vessel in order to receive. Because you talk about making $1 million when you're a teenager, but you don't have the vessel to receive that. You're going to short circuit. Mm-hmm. And also there's the concept of the bread of shame. Mm-hmm. How would you explain all of that?
Okay, so I always try to make these deep concepts very practical for people, and then we'll go back to the deeper parts of it. Imagine like a light bulb. A 60-watt bulb can hold 60 watts of energy. If you put 1,000 watts of energy in a 60-watt bulb, you're going to implode the bulb. In our lives, our soul is a vessel for energy. So whatever you're experiencing in your life right now is exactly what your soul can handle. It's very hard for people to accept that. The fact that you aren't in a relationship that maybe you want to be, maybe the marriage isn't as fulfilling as you want it to be, maybe you're having an issue with one of your children and it's not, that relationship is not where you want it to be. Maybe your sustenance is not where you want it to be. You have to understand it's not the fault of anyone on the outside. It's not personal. It's not the economy's fault. It's not the president's fault. It's not your family's fault. It's not your husband's fault. It's not your wife's fault. Your soul only has the capacity to receive what it is right here. Now, instead of being upset about the outside, if we actually expand that vessel from a 60-watt bulb to a 1,000-watt bulb, immediately the energy will come in. So what happens is the person shifts to a new destiny where all these miracles happen. Here's kind of the very deep part of it. Imagine you're in a marriage that is not fulfilling to you, and you believe your husband, let's say it's the husband in this case, because it goes both ways. Your husband isn't giving you what you want. Well, what the Kabbalists would say is, what can you do to your soul's vessel to expand from a 60-watt to a metaphoric 1,000-watt? Because as soon as you do that, your husband must energetically elevate as well. you'll enter a new destiny where you literally have a new husband. Something will change in him, or he doesn't even know or have the control, the power over it. People who come to because I used to teach a course called Kabbalah 1. It was like a 10-week course.
I know, I've taken it.
You took it online, right?
I took it online.
Yeah. So I have it as a masterclass on Kabbalah1.com.
It's so great.
Yeah,
so good.
It's probably the most profound course that I've had the opportunity to teach. I always tell men or women who come, who maybe have difficulties in relationships, I say, look, spend the next 3 months just learning this content and transforming yourself. Your entire destiny is going to change in 3 months. So one of two things are going to happen. Either the person you're with is going to elevate, and that happens most of the time. Somehow they'll elevate. We don't know how, but they will. Or this person will leave. So let's say you're dating someone and you don't know what to do with it. This person will leave because they're no longer allowed to be in your auric field because you've changed to such a high level of consciousness and vibration. It's completely fruitless to try to change other people because you're only being given what your vessel can handle anyways. So even if you try to force more energy in, it will not stay in that vessel. So I tell people, do not focus at all on changing the outside. Just expand your spiritual vessel for the next 3 months. And people come back and say, my whole life is different. My husband's different. My boyfriend's different. My girlfriend's different. My children are just acting different. I don't even know where it's coming from. You don't even have to have a conversation with them.
So how does someone expand their vessel? Give me some examples.
All right. So imagine the example I'm about to give you now, there's hundreds of them and hundreds of attributes that we can emulate. But the first one I would say is reactive behavior. To become like the creator, we have to transform reactive behavior. The creator is not reactive. The creator is proactive. The creator is the cause, not the effect. The definition of reactive behavior is any thought, word, or action which comes from lack or fear in order to connect to some kind of like instant gratification. So anything you do from a place of lack or fear is going to disconnect you from the light of the creator. And it's going to shrink your vessel.
A negative space.
Yeah. So, and quote, negative space Kabbalistically means a lower capacity to receive. Because the word negative is kind of what is negative, right? There's no reward or punishment in Kabbalah. There's no good or bad. You're not a good person or a bad person. Everything comes to capacity to receive. So if you are proactive, the vessel expands from 60 watts to 100 watts to 1,000 watts. When you become reactive, the vessel shrinks. And that's why the miracles and the blessings go away. So I always ask people, it's not about right or wrong. It's not even about what's happening here in the physical world. Are you acting like the light? Are you proactive? Okay, so how do you do that? You just got a text message that's making you upset. You just got a cancellation that's making you upset. You just got a lawsuit or a legal document that's making you have a lot of fear and awakening lack within you. You just found out your partner betrayed you. Or you found out that your husband or wife is having an affair. Like, these are all very common challenges that people go through. Or you just find out that you're getting older and you looked in the mirror and you said, wow, I don't look the same, I don't feel the same, and this anxiety comes over.
Right.
All of that is a test. If you wake up in the morning and just all of a sudden have doubts, that's a test. If your children all of a sudden do something that scares you, or your daughter comes home dating someone that you completely disapprove of, and it scares you, all of this is a test that your soul asked for since the time of creation to elevate you. Your daughter, in fact, has no free will. The creator is forcing her to date this guy to awaken your greatest fears. Because as long as you have those fears, your vessel stays small. So how are we going to expand the vessel? You have to experience your fears. So your soul is literally begging your daughter to date someone you disapprove of. And if you try to control your daughter, if you try to manipulate her or guilt her into leaving the relationship, that might work in the beginning, but that's reactive behavior because you're doing something from your own fear. Even if you call it love, or I'm trying to protect them, doing something from a place of love and protection does not override the spiritual obligation to not be reactive.
So what does someone do in that moment?
So in that case, let's say you could manipulate your daughter to dump them. That same test has to pop up somewhere else. So all of a sudden in your business, you'll get sued the next day. Or all of a sudden your husband will become, or your wife will become more distant from you. Anything to awaken that same fear of like a loss of control will appear somewhere else.
So does this go back to our cocoon?
Yeah.
And how do you explain the cocoon?
Okay, so you're throwing out a lot of words. I'm going to explain all of them. So going back to
Can you tell I've taken the classes?
Yeah. So people are going to be like, well, so what do I do in the daughter situation or the legal situation? The first step of several steps, we don't have so much time to go into the depth of this formula, but the first step would be to pause.
Right.
The pause, and there's a mantra I like to give, like what a pleasure or what a gift. I like actually what a gift more, because you're going to pause taking any form of instant gratification. At that moment, you become like God. So your soul connects to the light of the Creator, which means now the light's entering your world and removing the darkness. The light is now enveloping your daughter. The light is now enveloping the cells of your body. You literally shift to a reality that begins to bring you miracles just by pausing and not looking for instant gratification, not trying to control her, manipulate her, convince her. You just literally pause and you say, what a gift. Because what is the gift here? The gift, right now, you're very triggered by the fact that your daughter's doing something. The gift isn't that she's doing it. The gift is the Creator finally sent you an opportunity to deal with your fear. And that's going to expand your vessel and give you everything you've always wanted, including blessings for your daughter. So that's the real gift. So that's the first tool I would give the audience who's listening, is anything that's upsetting you today. It's funny, yesterday I was driving home from the airport. I had a trip in Miami and I couldn't wait to get home. Right? It was my birthday. I wanted to see my kids. There's a lot of things. And I got in a car. I had a driver pick me up. I never had this driver before. And it was honestly probably the slowest driver I've ever had. You know how when you're like driving school, the way you drive when there's an instructor sitting next to you, that's what it was like. It's like he would stop at a stop sign and there wasn't a car from miles away, nothing in sight. And it would sit there for like 7 seconds and look around and then slowly accelerate. And this whole time I was thinking, like, we're going to get home 10, 15 minutes later with this slow driving. But I realized this is a test since the beginning of time to expand my vessel to receive the light. Whether I get home late or early, this is totally irrelevant. The Creator wants me to act like the Creator. Whenever you're upset, it means it's a test. If you're not upset, you can easily just ask the driver, hey, can you please get there as fast as possible? But because I was upset, I could not say anything to him because that would be reactive. So I had to pause. I said, what a gift. And I started to enjoy the fact that it was slow. I started to even convince myself that this is a blessing, because at the end of the day, whether I get home at whatever time, this is not what's going to make my life better. What's going to make my life better is the expansion of my vessel that's occurring at that moment by me loving and enjoying the fact that I'm being impatient and someone's going very slow.
So these tests that are tailored for us specifically for our soul's correction, what do you think in that moment, that test was reflecting in you?
Okay, so that goes back to the word you use, which is called tikkun. Tikkun literally means, it's what the sages say is a correction, a soul correction. So,
and we're all born with it.
Yes, we're all born with layers of tikkun.
Layers of tikkun.
Some that won't even come up till later on in your life. You have a lot of tikkun, soul corrections that you have when you're single, a lot when you're married. Maybe some come up when you're divorced. And in fact, some people's destiny is to be divorced in order to go through a spiritual process that they need to go through post-marriage as well. So, because I know there's a lot of guilt and shame often around things that happen in our lives. And sometimes people view divorce as a failure. It's just not true. There's no such thing as a failure. Everything is the soul's evolution. The only failure, I don't even like to use that word, but the only missed opportunity would be is if I went through this life just blaming everyone else or thinking that everyone else has the power over my life, as opposed to realizing I came to this world to be a creator. That would be the only missed opportunity. But if you're dating, married, or divorced, your soul had literally prescribed this since the beginning of time, before your soul came down, knowing that being divorced would be the thing you absolutely needed for the elevation of your soul.
When you say divorced, I'm divorced. And it's something I know you understand as well. And I do feel my divorce led me in a way to cleanse my cocoon, because it's like, it showed me the path to loving myself more, to trusting myself, to understanding I don't need anyone in this world other than a connection to myself, which is a connection to the source, to the creator.
Your soul chose parents or a father that would uniquely awaken a tikkun you brought from a past life. It's not that your father caused you to feel a certain way. It's not that he even took away the opportunity for you to feel a certain way. It's that you brought, let's say, some of the most common ones are the fear of abandonment, the fear of being alone, fear of losing control. These are tikkuns that we bring from past life. So we will choose parents that might abandon us, that might temporarily be not present, to awaken this within us so that we can bring it to the forefront and transform it. A therapist might say, well, you are this way because your parents were this way and they caused this to you. Kabbalah says the opposite. You are this way because your soul chose to bring this into this world, to transform it, to become like the light, to earn the light. We can only earn light by transforming our tikkun. And this is the phrase you use, the bread of shame. There's a shame that the soul feels if it does not earn the light. To remove this shame, it chooses these fears to overcome. And the only way to experience these fears is then to choose other souls that will interact with you to awaken them. So in this case, your father, even your ex-husband, which I hate using the word ex. It has such a negative connotation. So let's say the father of your children. And so he came into your life in order to elevate you and you to elevate him. One of the most valuable things that we learned is in order to create miracles in our lives, the respect and the love that you have after a relationship is probably even more important than the one you have during, because when you're in a relationship, everyone loves everybody. But let's understand it's a very low level of love because, I want to say very low level, it's a lower level because it's almost transactional. You're there for each other. You're supporting each other. You're giving to each other. You have children with each other. I always wondered, how could it be that after a divorce, you hate each other? If you really loved someone for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, how could you hate them all of a sudden? You wouldn't ever hate your children, which is a higher level of love. Your children could do the worst things in the world. You would still love them. So the higher level of love is when you aren't getting from them what you want or what you expected or what they promised, can you now choose to be the creator? In fact, you may have only came to this world to go through that test. I mean, everything was predetermined except for the pain, lack, or fear you would feel after maybe she left you or he left you. Can you still give them the love, respect, admiration? Maybe there needs to be boundaries still, of course. I'm not saying be a doormat. I'm not saying lose yourself, not at all. But I'm talking about something very internal. Because if you desire to love someone, you desire to care about them, that vibration will eventually take you to the destiny that will make it happen. And that is our spiritual work. So I think that for whoever's listening, and I know we're going in this direction probably because the audience is requesting it energetically, a lot of times, maybe the reason you haven't found your soulmate post a divorce is because of the because of the transformation that's needed with your ex.
I know it's difficult. I don't think people can ever tap into that. And I don't know why. Recently I did. And I feel that's like the missing piece with a lot of people who separate. And for me, that is how I connect to the highest version of who I want to be in this life, is someone who can give that type of just unconditional love. Sorry.
No, that's you said it so beautifully.
That's who I want to be. And I think that's the greatest love I can give him, even in a separate life.
Correct. It's almost by honoring him and loving him from an internal place. It's less about even the actions. It's something very deep to be desirous of that, to want that more than anything is going to expand your vessel in such beautiful ways to bring you to the future you need.
It does feel expansive. And it's not coming from a selfish place. I'm doing this so I can expand. No, I'm doing it because that is the purest love in my heart that I feel for my kids. So therefore it is going to transcend to him and it is going to then come back to me because that's just how it all works. And I can't explain it, but I feel it.
Yeah, you feel it because you're tapping into universal spiritual law. And sometimes I tell people, look, I'm not asking you to do it out of the kindness of your heart. I'm not asking you to do it because it's the spiritual thing to do. I'm almost telling you the most selfish thing you can do is to honor him.
Right.
And you will be blessed in so many other ways. Now, I want to also be sensitive to the fact that some people might be saying, well, look, it's easy for you. Your ex is a great person. They are on the same page.
Exactly.
There wasn't, betrayal and hurt. And some people are literally thinking this, like, but I married a narcissist. I married somebody abusive. I married somebody who doesn't think this way. So even if I think this way, they are toxic and they're dragging me through the mud in a divorce and they're saying horrible things to the kids. So I want to address that as well.
Right.
Because some people will be thinking, easy for you to say.
Exactly.
You have a pleasant situation and now you're spiritual about it too. Great. I will tell you that having coached couples for 20 years, I've seen every kind of marriage, every kind of divorce, every kind of separation, every kind of scenario. It's not about at all what the other person is doing or not doing. All you are required to do is energetically the best you can do in your situation.
How do you have certainty? And what is certainty in this context?
Okay, so certainty has many layers. Certainty means I believe that everything comes from the Creator. Everything is good. And I have everything I need right now. I am whole, despite the situation in front of me showing me otherwise. There's a situation in front of me that's showing me I'm not whole, that I'm lacking something, that I'm missing a relationship, that maybe I'm getting older and I haven't had a child yet, so I'm childless, I'm missing something. Financially, I'm missing something. Every time you leave your house feeling any lack, your vibration drops, your auric field literally shatters, and chaos and negativity are attracted to you because like attracts like. If you walk out of your house with lack, you attract lack. If you walk out of your house with feeling whole, feeling, you know what, I already have everything. Now I'm going out into the world to create. You have the same schedule, but you're not going to take from the people. It's all consciousness. You're going to give to the people, and you can only give when you're complete. When you're not complete, you're always going to take something. You're always going to have an agenda. You're always going to look for approval or a sale to make. If you had $100 million, then you're going to go out there financially and maybe create stuff for fun, for sport. You're not going to take things personally. You're not going to feel like you need to monetize every relationship. It's a very powerful thing. So certainty means, in essence, a feeling of being whole and complete. So as soon as doubts arise, as soon as thoughts about the future come up, that's a test. No problem. I like to start using mantras to elevate my consciousness to a level of certainty beyond logic. I say to myself, in fact, I have everything right now. Everything is perfect exactly the way it is. I have complete certainty in the light of the Creator.
So personally, what I took away from my time with David is that Kabbalah isn't just about rules. It's really about remembering who we are. It's like following a roadmap for transforming our reactions, which is the number one thing Kabbalah teaches, not to be reactive, to always come from a godly place, to always come from the light, expanding our capacity to receive and really what it really means to receive, reconnecting to the light that is always within us. All right, so if you guys like this episode of David Ghiyam, go back, listen to the full one. It's episode 11. And what I always take away from listening to David, whether it's on his own podcast or social media, and just looking at life through the spiritual lens of Kabbalah, it's about remembering who we are, that we don't have to be reactive, that in order to expand our capacity to receive, it's really all about connecting with the light, and that light is always within all of us. That message, that universal message to expand our vessel really does flow perfectly with this next conversation. And this is with Karin Hadadan. Karin is much younger than me, but she's like my spiritual sister. I love her so much. I love her work. And she's the author of The Unlimited Power Within You. Karin's story is such a beautiful example of when we stop hiding from our own light, when we stop listening to our bodies, learning to forgive our bodies when they work against us. That's something that we can all relate to, right? When our bodies fail us, whether we're tired or we come up with chronic illness. This is something Karin has gone through, and she talks about what it's like to really love and to forgive. This next clip is one of my favorites because it captures the exact moment, the courage for you to finally see yourself. I've been waiting for your book because I started following you on social media, and there are a lot of people that post motivational quotes or, things that are beautiful, but very rarely do you get really invested in someone's story.
Just your word choice right there really resonated. So thank you so much.
Of course. And it is your story. And I think our unique story is what propels us to do this work, gives us purpose, and in a way kind of just lights us up from within. And I feel that. I think when it's authentic and it's real, it's palpable.
Totally.
Walk us through the very beginning. What inspired this book?
2020, my health was getting really bad. And that was when I really had this desire to go after my dreams and my creative goals. I had all this writing, and I was really nervous to ever share that. It's so vulnerable. I had a huge fear of being seen, but I decided to create an Instagram account with an alias because I was too scared to use my name. And it was purely a place where I would follow the people that I admired in the mindfulness spirituality space outside of my personal Instagram, where I see like everyone getting married and engaged and the kids and all that, to keep myself accountable, stay inspired, be fed the content that I needed. Because at that point I was kind of forgetting everything that I had learned over the years of your thoughts create your reality.
Louise Hay.
Yes. Everything about that. I was like, stuck at a job that was so unhappy at. And I was like, I need to hold myself accountable. And so in 2020, I launched my Instagram. It was just a mood board. And over the few months, I started to share my own writing. And then I got a comment that was like, this is beautiful. I'm like, oh, okay. Someone thinks it's beautiful. And then it was like 100 likes. And then it was like 1,000 followers. And I'm like, okay, people are liking my work. And then over the years, I built that and grew a beautiful community. And I tried a lot of things because I always knew I wanted to create a product. So I started with merch because that's the easiest thing to start with. It was also COVID. Everyone's wearing sweatpants. So like easy entry point. Only to realize after the first day of sales, oh my God, I don't want to pack orders. This does not feel aligned. But I love the idea of a physical manifestation of what was in my heart. That's all it was. Then I tried digital products. Great money, but again, something was empty there. And then I came across a bucket list that I wrote when I was 16. And one of them was to have my poems published. And I think like seeing that on my bucket list kind of like got something swirling in my mind, because then one day, a few days after that, I was meditating and I just saw a visual of me like walking into a bookstore and seeing a book with my name on it on the shelf. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I think that's
There's a story in you waiting to come through.
Exactly. And so I meditated on that for months because I was too scared to go after it. I didn't know any authors. I don't know even what a manuscript, like I didn't know anything about the industry. Just like the idea of having a book felt cool. Long story short, one day I just felt a nudge to cold email my publisher. And I was just like, hey, my name is Karin. This is my Instagram account. I'm writing a manuscript. I wasn't. That was a full-on lie. But
it was a fake it till you make it. Come on. I mean, we all do. We all do it a little.
Totally. And it was just like my way of saying yes. And God being like, okay, great. I'll begin now. And it was the easiest thing I've ever done because they responded a week later being like, yeah, we love your work. We've seen it. Send us a manuscript when it's ready. So I'm like, oh shit, like Google manuscript templates. I didn't know what that looked like. Took 3 months to write the book. I had half of it already written on my notes app on my phone. So some of the passages from my first book are pieces I wrote when I was 16. 3 months later, they want to publish me. And then life took off from there. And then the second book really came from when I was diagnosed with endometriosis. 4 months after that, I had surgery thinking it was the answer to all my prayers. In so many ways it was, but not in the way that I thought. I thought I would have surgery and 2 weeks later, I'm going to live my best, amazing life. And I could be free and eat whatever I want and have normal periods and meet the love of my life. And God was like,
his life works out exactly perfectly like that all the time.
It was quite the opposite, but it ended up being my greatest gift because essentially what happened was I was putting so much pressure on myself to heal on my timeline that I literally I gave myself the same symptoms of the disease despite not having it anymore. And that was when I was really guided to go inwards, heal from within, really feel the trauma of the health challenges that I never allowed myself to feel, and get to the root of why did I even have this chronic illness? And
why did you? If you can now look back and connect the dots.
I always believed I was too much growing up. And I was told to be realistic. I was such a dreamer as a kid. I was so naive. Like if I said I was going to do something, I was going to do it. And this wasn't from my parents. This was really just like everything. Like even in school, like everyone would be focusing on that one thing and I would be looking over there. And I'm like, why am I looking here and everyone's on that thing? Like it was just so, I was so different, really. It was special.
What you were suppressing ended up manifesting into a sickness.
Exactly. And what it was a fear of being seen. That was eventually what happened. It was a fear of being seen as my authentic self. And so what did my body do all those years? It kept me safe. It protected me because all of those years where I was really sick, I didn't want to be seen, not in my messiness, not when I had cystic acne all over my face, not when I gained 30 pounds, not when I was, not confident in myself. I didn't date. I canceled plans all the time. I didn't travel. Like I didn't do all the things to show my power because of that deep-rooted belief of fear of being seen. And all those years, a lot of the work I've been doing now is self-forgiveness because I resented my body. I resented myself. Like I always thought like I did this to myself and I made myself sick and I gave myself the symptoms and how cruel.
But now you're just compounding the negative talk on top of negative talk.
Yeah.
When did you finally switch that? And what advice would you give to someone who also is afraid of being seen? Because I often hear from so many people, I want to do things. I believe I'm special. I believe I have like a gift inside me, but they are also very afraid of being seen that they don't even try.
I asked myself a question about a month and a half ago. So everything that I'm saying now has been a 2-year journey. And only now did I have that download of the I'm too much, literally 3 weeks ago. So all this is still really fresh for me. I asked myself a question though, about a month ago. And I said, Karin, where are you afraid to be seen? And I sat on that for a few days. I went on walks. I thought about it. And then it came to me. I'm afraid of looking at myself in the mirror. And physically, I wasn't feeling my best about a month ago. I gained weight and And so one day I just said, you know what? I'm going to cut the bullshit. I'm not going to do a meditation. I'm not going to talk to a person, like someone to help. It's like, I'm going to go straight to the source. So what I sat in front of the mirror in my bra and underwear. And I just looked at myself for 30, I'm getting emotional talking about it, but I looked at myself for 30 minutes. Sorry, I'm getting so emotional.
It's okay.
And looked at my rolls, looked at my arms, looked at the scars on my belly. And I just said, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. And I repeated that for 30 minutes and I was bawling my eyes out. Because that was the moment where I realized, of course, I'm not being seen by people. Of course, I am afraid to show myself. Of course, I'm not getting the success that I know I deserve. I can't even see myself. And life is a mirror, right? And that was the ultimate mirror. And that moment where I really just looked at myself in the eyes, I saw the little girl that I had abandoned, all those years. And it was it was so beautiful because that really was the moment where I understood true unconditional self-love. And that was a month ago. That was this, and all the work that I've done over the years brought me to that moment, because I cannot have had that experience or answered that question 6 months ago. I wouldn't have been ready to receive the answer of, Karin, you're actually afraid to look at yourself.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to hold that. Right. And so all the past few years, rewiring all the limiting beliefs of I'm not good enough, I must work hard to achieve success, all those limiting programs, beliefs, behaviors that are all I wrote all about in my second book. That was all the layers, but the root of it was the I'm too much, and the fear of being seen. And so to answer your question, I would have anyone who's listening ask, where am I afraid to be seen? Is it in front of the people that I love? Is it in the mirror? Is it, what part of myself am I afraid to show? Is it my authenticity? Or is it the parts of me that aren't even me that I think I should be showing?
That was really powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I really want to talk about the book.
Yes.
First and foremost, the title, The Unlimited Power Within You. How did that come to you?
It was in a meditation. And a word that I love is limitless. I love that word. And I think that's how I see myself. That's how I see all of us. I think we're all unlimited, limitless beings. But over the years, the greatest tool that I brought into my life was meditation. And every morning when I meditate, I get this voice inside of my head. And it's like, do this, go here. This is what that means. Or this is what you're feeling. Or just guidance.
And you asked for the same guidance, right? From A Course in Miracles. I do the same.
Yeah.
Will you recite it?
Yes. And I actually added something new recently, which I'll share. So
it is a little different, the way you write it versus the way it's written in Course in Miracles. But I think that's honestly the best way to ask for anything in life, is simply to ask for the guidance.
And not the thing. I used to be like, God, please heal me. God, please bring me the love of my life. And now what I say is, the first thing I say is, God, what do you want to experience through me today? And then I say, show me where to go, show me what to do, who to speak to, what to say, what to hear, and guide me on my path so that I follow your will, timing and plan versus mine. And then I ask, give me a nudge or an intuitive action that is the right next step to my destiny, or to meet the love of my life, or to fulfill a dream, whatever it is that I'm, is top of mind. And what that does is it opens the day to receiving way more than what you could have if you said, God, I just want this. Because now what happens is you stumble upon a coffee shop and turns out the barista has the same interests as you, or you bump into someone because you took a different path to work, or, you listen to a podcast and it's the exact guidance that you needed that day, or you offer a smile to a stranger and they were having a really rough day and that smile changed you know what I mean? And so that unlimited energy is available to us at all times, but it really just starts from within us.
This one is in the very beginning. It says, the chosen ones. Spiritual awakenings are often experienced out of necessity. Our souls sense that our potential transcends the limitations of our current challenges. We feel called to go deeper, inwards and within, towards a path that was predestined, waiting for us to explore it in divine timing. That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
How would you explain that to someone who doesn't quite understand that concept?
I'm sure when David Ghiyam came on your show, you might have, I can't remember if you guys talked about this, but he always talks about how we, all of our souls will have a spiritual awakening, multiple, for some in this lifetime. Mine was delivered through my painful health challenges. And my soul chose my body for a reason, with the exact circumstances, with the exact parents, with the exact limiting beliefs, to soul correct in this lifetime to fulfill the mission that my soul came here to do in this body at this time. Had I not gone through my physical suffering, I would not be here today, because I needed those experiences to channel this wisdom and marry that. I think wisdom is knowledge plus experience. And in order to share that wisdom, you need both. right? And so I think we all at some point will arrive at a place where we are at rock bottom. And when you're at rock bottom, it's actually the most remarkable place to be, although it does not feel that way.
I've been there.
Yeah. There's only one place to go, and that's up, right?
Yeah.
When you're at the bottom, it's like you kind of you are just forced to surrender. And that's what I mean, where the path was predestined, waiting for you to explore it in divine timing. That rock bottom could not have happened at any other point in your life in that exact same way, with those same lessons and those same realizations. And it is that from that point on where you enter this new portal and you realize that that suffering in your life was not given to you as a punishment, but it was part of your soul's mission to fulfill what you came here to do.
It's not happening to you. It's happening for you.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
I do believe also everyone we meet, we call into our lives subconsciously because there's something that we need to work through. I don't know how I do this, but I call people and things into my life. It's like, I wish I knew how I did it, because then I would consciously do it, right? And I would call in like a billionaire and all these things. But what I'm actually doing is calling in lessons of unhealed parts of me that still need to heal, because right now in this moment in my life, that's what I'm focusing on, right? That's what I'm calling in. I didn't do it 10 years ago, because my life was about something else.
I think every human being that we meet, even a stranger, teaches us something. So there's no shame in taking years to heal that part of you. I mean, God knows I've allowed many people in my life who I just did not learn the lesson from. And it had to happen that way. And I wouldn't change a single thing about it. But if we're able to get that awareness and just ask, okay, what are they triggered? Is it the little girl whose parents were so controlling and he's controlling me and that little girl is activated right now? Or is it, I have this dream and he doesn't, she's not believing in me. And, my family didn't believe in me. And that's what they're triggering. Like, if we ask ourselves these questions, to your point, we realize it has nothing to do with them. And they are a gift to us because they are showing us where we're not yet expanded. And that awareness is the first step to break that pattern for the rest of your life.
We are essentially the architects of everything in our lives.
Yeah.
So if we don't believe we deserve something, it's never going to be mirrored back to us. If we don't believe that we are a certain way, we are never going to have other people see us that way. One thing that I'm really working on right now is seeing myself, because I'll get compliments from people and I'm just like, oh no, don't say that.
Yeah.
But really inside, that's revealing something else, because I'm not seeing myself for who I am. And until I see myself, I'm not going to demand better from myself. And it's not, demand is such a hard word. I'm not going to, think I deserve
ask for what
better.
you really want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ask for what you want. And we don't ask for what we want because we believe it's too much.
Yeah.
That we're being too idealistic.
We're not good enough.
We're not good enough. Why me? Instagram is full of beautiful women. Why me? Why do I deserve this? But we deserve it because this is our life. This is our story and we're writing it. So if you're not going to write yourself as the main character in your own movie, no one else is.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Universe, a lot of people think of it as God. They think of it as source. I think universe is source energy and it's God. I'm not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual. So that's how I identify with it. And here you wrote, each time I stood at life's crossroads, perplexed on which path to take, it was through an open prayer that most divine guidance was revealed to me. I ceased to request the specific outcomes, recognizing that my own definitions of what I needed often limited the breadth of what I could receive.
When I say, things happen in divine timing, that's what I mean. And if God answered those prayers, I wouldn't have received this much magic,
Your
and that's
pain was your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so true. I mean, there are things in our lives that are the catalyst to our biggest breakthroughs. As the title of the show is Breaking Through.
Yes.
Because there's always that moment that your soul is just waiting to come through. There's a story from within that's waiting to come through, a job change, a change in life. It's there. And it is through divine timing. It's like your soul knows, okay, we waited long enough. It's time.
And your soul knows.
Oh, it absolutely knows.
Yeah. And so the moment you let go of what you think you want or what you think you need, that's where abundance flows in. And it is always, always better. Because I think a lot of us, and Kabbalah talks about this too, like David Ghiyam always talks about this, how the universe wants to give you so much and it's there, it's available. You just need to expand your vessel to receive the abundance. And abundance doesn't just mean financially or monetarily or anything. It's just abundance in love and joy and peace.
You'll know when you're happy. Every time I revisit that conversation with Karin, honestly, I'm reminded that healing really begins the moment we stop running from ourselves. What are we running from? Why are we judging ourselves? Her courage to forgive, to love, and to fully be seen is something I think we all strive for, right? It's the highest form of self-love when you can look at yourself honestly and not judge yourself. Accept yourself and say, I'm going to do it differently. Because when you can finally see yourself clearly, the world starts to reflect the same clarity back to you. The idea of inner alignment and awareness leads beautifully into the next conversation. And this is with Feel Good. Feel Good's videos on social media always find me just at the right time. And I think it just speaks to his inner genius. Phil has a way of translating intuition into something that we can all understand and live by. He talks about spirituality in a way that I've never heard it before. And I feel that he's real. It's just being in his presence, listening to, him speak, it really resonates. There's something about the energy that he carries, the emotions that he carries, and these messages that he receives from the universe about alignment and what it takes for our souls to really come to life instead of doing things out of force. I love this moment because it reminds us that intuition isn't something that's mystical. It's science. We all have it inside of us, but you have to quiet the noise in order to really hone in on the truth and the truth that's inside us all along. We agreed upon this morning. And I think that really speaks to what you do. And I think you just move through the world, with your intuition being your guiding light.
I do. I think of myself as a surfer. I surf the waves of how I'm feeling and I just roll with it.
Do you think that's the secret to being really in the flow and being really present?
Absolutely. I think we've been heavily conditioned to do what other people want us to do rather than really tuning into what we want.
So how would you explain what you do and how did you come to do this?
So I see people's blockages.
Okay.
And then I'm able to go in there and I get visions, I get messages clairaudiently, telepathically.
Do you feel anything just being in my presence right now?
I feel a lot just in this studio overall, but I think we need to do some investigation. So I'm not, for a long time I was a psychic.
Really?
And then I really started honing my gift more and it became clear to me that I was more of an intuitive. And I came up with my own definitions as to what that means.
Which is?
Psychic would be more predictive.
Okay.
And so it's you asking about your external life. So when am I going to find this job? When am I going to meet the love of my life? So it's very externally driven. Whereas intuitive is it's all about your internal alignment. And so I am of the belief that if you're aligned spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically, then things start to manifest for you.
When you say getting into alignment, how does someone get into alignment where they can understand their intuition?
The only true reality is the emotional one. Because your emotions are all that exist until they change and they evolve into something else. So once you start to honor your feelings pertaining to any situation or relationship, then you're able to clarify your space. You're able to clarify your mind. So it's all about listening to our hearts. It's about honoring our feelings. And most people don't do that.
When did this realization come to you?
I think I've always been spiritual, but I think that I wasn't aware of it. I always floated above the room and could see that I'm enjoying this, but this is not it. There's more for me. So I think I've always been spiritual intrinsically, but...
How do you explain that? Because I think a lot of people sometimes float around in rooms, and I've been one of those people, still am, where I look around and I'm like, this isn't it. How do you explain that feeling? What is that?
I would think that it's their soul that hasn't fully come online in a physical way. Their soul is kind of waiting in the wings for them to step into their power. So the soul is able to observe the room or observe that I'm out with my friends right now, but I don't think this is it for me. I'm thinking about other things. I'm daydreaming about my career or my relationship. And so they haven't really stepped into in a physical way.
What is the soul? How would you explain the soul?
Your light. I think it's everything that you've been through throughout your lifetime, throughout previous lifetimes, future lifetimes. We look at time as being very linear, but time is just a construct. And so in this lifetime, we might learn the lesson of setting boundaries. In the next lifetime, we might learn how to be more truthful about what we're feeling or to finally overcome our fears and chase our dreams. So usually there's an overarching theme with every lifetime. And I'm not asking people to hang their hat on that. Like if you don't believe in incarnation or reincarnation, that's fine too. But the soul is almost like a supercomputer of all the
Lifetimes
collected
we've
experiences that you've had in a physical sense.
And what is the opposite of the soul?
I would say it's resistance. It's fear. It's everything that you're still afraid to learn about yourself, or maybe it's not time for you to learn about yourself. We don't want to judge anything because I think the second that we judge it or label it, we're limiting ourselves. So sometimes we're meant to be in an abusive relationship so that we can understand why we're in it. Going back to the soul waiting in the wings, we're kind of taking stock of what we're going through and how we're feeling in that particular relationship until we can finally feel our power come online, until we have that clarity.
I do see that. I do see that in the collective. A lot of people are coming into understanding themselves at a soul level.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think we're starting to realize that what isn't in alignment with our integrity or with what life has in store for us, it can't stick. And so we can convince ourselves that we want to be singers, but then we have to ask ourselves, when it's time for you to go on stage, are you going to do it? And if you truly get honest with yourself and you're like, I don't know, I don't think this is for me, then it may not be for you.
What do you think are some signs that your soul is trying to say something to you, that you might be on a path that's not right? You might be in a marriage that's not right, or doing something that's just not for your highest self. How do you know? What are the signs?
I always say that your emotions are energy in motion. Your emotions are the way that the universe communicates with you. And so most of us ignore our emotions. We don't want to go to work. That is our emotion speaking to us, but we go anyway. And I'm not suggesting that this is easy to just stop going to work. But we have to
go to work.
We have to go to work, but we have to start bringing, transposing the feeling of how we want to feel in the future and how we want to feel now into everything that we do. So if I bring the feeling of what I want my life to feel like into everything that I do, even this job that I don't want to be at, then everything that isn't in alignment with that feeling, with my truth, will begin to dissolve. And then you'll eventually get ejected from your situation. You'll get ejected from your job, from your marriage, because you're holding your light.
Why do you think people stay stuck in those dynamics, sometimes for lifetimes? They know it's not right for them, truly not right for them, but they stay.
It's what's meant to happen.
At the right time.
Yeah. They don't have the emotional capacity to manifest in a physical way, like you said, materialize what's more in alignment with their hearts. They don't have the emotional capacity to hold the reality that they want to experience. Everything starts in the emotional realm. This is where it starts. The emotional is non-physical. We can't see emotions, we can feel them. And over time, it filters into the physical. And your life starts to rearrange and reorganize to meet what you truly want.
What do you do to ensure that the next chapter is successful and aligned with who you want to be? What are some questions we can be asking ourselves, or getting into the practice of getting into the feeling before it manifests into the actual?
It's stopping to ask questions. It's stopping to control, stopping the need to know. It's trusting that you made the right decision for you, that felt more authentic for you, that felt healthier for you, and then continuing to move into the unknown, solely trusting and implicitly trusting that that feeling will guide you to the next thing.
Did you always know, or did you feel on some level that you would be doing this work?
I knew something was happening when I was 27. I'm almost 42, when I had a spiritual awakening, and I knew that something in me was coming alive that was really, really strong.
Can you share that?
It's called a Kundalini awakening. I felt my life force start to rise in my body and go all the way to the top of my head, and my head burst open.
And through what modality did you get there?
I just meditated for 5 minutes. I had never meditated in my life, and I was miserable. I was depressed. I went into a closet, took a chair with me, sat there, and I just breathed. And this life force,
What did you see?
I saw myself floating on a cloud, and everything was so still and peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got real. So I probably had about 2-3 years of pure bliss and ecstasy. And then it gets real, because just because we awaken doesn't mean that we've healed our traumas.
That allowed you to really tap into your intuition and to your
Yes.
natural abilities. How do you describe intuition? What is intuition, and how is it different from anxiety or fear? Because sometimes it can sound the same.
So intuition is a truth that you've always held within you that you may not have been ready to fully take on board, that you may not have been ready to accept or embrace, but everyone has it. I think the reason why people don't become super intuitive is because they don't follow it. They hold on to the person that's emotionally unavailable. They hold on to the friend that's not able to hold space for them. They hold on to the family member that's toxic. And so they know their heart is screaming at them. Their body is screaming, but they're choosing not to listen. I would say it's remaining curious. It's a blend of remaining curious and open. I always say to people, keep an open mind. Don't think that you know, because the second that you think you know, you're boxing yourself in, and you're boxing the other person in.
Right.
And so just going in with an open mind. So, which is difficult for people because they're afraid of the unknown. They want to be in control. Intuition is like yoga. It has many branches. But one of the branches that I've uncovered on my own is I would hear voices in my head, almost like thoughts, saying, what is she wearing? Or what is he wearing? And then I started to piece together that maybe that's how their siblings thought of them, or how their mom spoke to them, or how they were critical of themselves. And so if we can start to create a little space with those thoughts, between us and those thoughts, then we can start to glean information as to what's really going on.
What do you think happens in that space?
Curiosity and feeling safe enough within ourselves to have those feelings. Because I think usually we jump the gun and we automatically judge people. Taking a beat, sliding back and going, okay, I'm safe enough to feel what I'm feeling right now. I am judgmental. I'm going to feel that. I'm going to tell myself I'm safe enough to feel that, and just comfort myself. And then you're going to start seeing it clearer.
I do also think a lot of people, they're quick to dispel the feeling and judge themselves for feeling, it's very easy to look at someone like that and then say, okay, Ellina, stop being a bitch. Stop being so petty. Stop being so this. But it's really giving the space. You're not being petty. Yes, you judge this person, but let's scale back.
That's right.
Right?
Otherwise, you cut yourself off from what's trying to be revealed to you. So as you breathe and you take a beat, you're actually expanding your awareness.
Right.
And you're allowing more information to filter in. But if you immediately cut yourself off by pretending you didn't judge that person, or by being critical of yourself, then you're not going to get that information.
What happens to people when they stay stuck in that mindset of, doing the opposite of what we just talked about, consistently arguing and showing their side, wanting to prove a point? What happens to these people long term?
They usually get sick, or they're not evolving, which is to say they're not helping the universe evolve. So they eventually cross over, but they usually lead a miserable life, but they're covering it up. They're covering up their emotions, and they want to keep the facades going. So they end up suffering, but they don't know they're suffering because they're not aware enough to know that they're suffering. They're not leading empathic lives. It's all about themselves. They're self-absorbed. What can you do for me? I need your thank you, Ellina. I need your energy to stay alive. But we're here on this planet to learn how to become self-sufficient. We have to get in touch with the universe. We have to connect to God. Whatever word people want to use is fine. We have to connect to something within us. And then as we do that, we learn how to generate more energy. We learn how to connect to other people. We learn to develop more empathy.
It really is. Life, I've come to understand, is a dance between you and God. And that every person in your life has been planted there to show you something about how you can align yourself more with the light.
That's right. And think of how God is not physical per se, but you're always learning from God. Why can't you be a mini God for someone like your family, where they learn through silence, where they have to face themselves rather than always latching on to you as a means to distract themselves? So most of the world right now is operating via distraction because it's very scary to dig into our feelings and get real about what's really going on and how we're hurting ourselves and others.
How do you explain the concept of you're here for your own evolution to people who are very unfamiliar with that?
I would say it's connecting to more compassion, connecting to your own personal development. Everyone has something that they love, whether it be cooking or being a mom or going to school or whatever. It's continuously doing the same thing over and over again so that you can use what you're doing as a mirror to connect deeper into yourself. If I love basketball and I play every single day, then I can begin to be mindful while I'm playing basketball and I'm learning about myself through that dance. This is why I tell people, don't do too many things. Don't have too many irons in the fire. Pick one or two things that you love, stick with those things, and learn about yourself through that thing.
I love that you're saying this because the narrative most people grow up with, and I certainly grew up with that narrative, is a timeline that, certain boxes you have to check off when you get to a certain age. And we get so consumed with living that way. Graduate college, I'm going to get married, I'm going to buy the house, I'm going to have children, I'm going to have a good career, I'm going to be yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
But that's not it. And it's a lot simpler than that.
Yeah.
It's really coming home to you.
Yeah. Money, career, all that is really important as long as it's in line with your purpose, with your calling to become more of you. That is your true purpose, to become more of you. That is all. And as you become more of you and you unfold yourself, as you will, life starts to rearrange around you in a very physical way. But you don't have to focus on the physical. That just happens as a byproduct of you getting more in touch with yourself.
I think a lot of people equate it with purpose in a profession. But what is finding your purpose to you?
I would say that it's getting more and more authentic every single day, understanding that this planet that we're on is a school. You can make all the money in the world and be a billionaire, but it doesn't mean that you've evolved your consciousness. And you've seen that many times. You've seen billionaires who might be narcissists. They're completely out of touch with reality, out of touch with empathy. So evolving physically and materially doesn't mean that you're evolving spiritually.
And what happens to us when we start to evolve spiritually?
Everything that is meant for us starts to happen. So we start to experience more joy because we don't need those things. I think the world is kind of inverted right now, where people are chasing those material things, but they're never satisfied. It's like a drug.
It's a bottomless pit.
Yeah, we've become addicts. Whereas the right way to go about things is getting to know ourselves, setting boundaries, speaking our truth, following that truth, and then allowing our physical life to unfurl accordingly.
It's all comes down to peace.
Yes.
That's how I look at it, at least.
Yeah.
For me, finding peace has been the greatest reward in all of this. It's just finding that baseline that's very peaceful, because I didn't have peace for a very long time.
And even that can be a little convoluted because some people might think of themselves as peaceful, but they're only peaceful because they're still depending on that bank account that they have. What would happen if you took that away from them? So a good way to know where you're at on your spiritual journey, on your emotional journey, I use those interchangeably.
Okay.
A good way to know where you're at is, who would you be if I took away your money? Who would you be if I took away your career? Who would you be? And that'll give you a clear indication as to where you're at.
But what do we do without those things? How do we survive without those things? Because we still live in a 4D universe that demands us to show up every day for work.
Yes.
And we need the house to keep our kids, housed.
So you saying that is coming from a place of never having fully followed your heart. So we presume things. We make assumptions about things because we've never crossed that bridge. I'm telling you right now, if you follow your heart over and over and over again, your physical life will take care of you. The universe knows this. That's why, practically speaking, I wouldn't advise that you just quit a job.
Yeah.
I would say baby steps. Like, what can you do today to be more authentic?
What advice do you have to people to implement this on a daily basis, to be more in tune with their intuition and to following their heart? How do they listen to all that?
Pay attention to the little moments that you might otherwise overlook. So don't jump out of bed. Gently roll out of bed. Be present with your life. Pour yourself the cup of coffee presently. Don't rush. Don't get ahead of yourself. The reason why we have intrusive thoughts is because we're always ahead of ourselves. We're not taking a moment to breathe and to resync with life, which is just what happened to me now. I noticed that I was getting ahead of myself, and I'm taking a moment to resync with life. And now I'm good.
When you know you're living a life that is, you're being a phony in your own life. I think we know that on a soul level.
And more people are going to start to stay home because they've been distracting themselves for a long time. And so this force in the universe that's so strong, God.
Why do you think people are waking up now?
I think people are waking up because that's what was pre-programmed. We all decided to be here at the same time. We're all playing a part in each other's story, whether we know it or not.
It's a collective consciousness.
We're interconnected. I think this lifetime, for the most part, is going to be what you would consider a darker lifetime.
Why is that?
Everything happens in cycles. But when you're talking about the universe and a soul, these cycles don't last 3 months, like a season. They last a lot longer. So we are at the end of a dark cycle right now. I strongly believe this, but this could mean that it might take 50, 100 years until we pull it together.
Do you think we're born to go through several cycles or several spiritual awakenings? Or
100%.
is it just one?
100%.
Over and over?
Yeah, collectively, it's going to be dark, but personally, you can always evolve. Nothing can stand between you and how far you go.
This has been incredible. You are so great. I mean, I wish
you.
I could just have you next to me all day long. Like, what do I do, Phil? Before we leave, if you could give some our listeners some practical tips on how to harness their intuition more on a day, like starting tomorrow morning, how can they listen to themselves more?
I say follow the feeling. That's what I say. Follow the feeling. What feeling is inside of you right now? You're about to pick a fight with your husband. If your heart is racing, that's the universe saying, don't do it. Don't do it. Slow down. Regain control of your life. Because otherwise, the rest of the day is going to be a mess. So start listening to your heart. If it's beating really fast, take a pause, because then you're going to make a decision that you might regret. And if it's beating slowly, and you've been sitting with something for a while, listen to that. And then again, being mindful, taking your time with things, and trying not to be reactive. When we judge people, when we get reactive, we're not wanting to look in the mirror. Be willing to lose it all if it means finding yourself. Be willing to lose it all if it means finding yourself.
What's on the other side of finding yourself?
A whole new world. I feel like most humans right now are living in the shadow version of their life. It's phony. It's not authentic. It's not real. They have relationships that aren't really supportive. So I call that the shadow version of life, the shadow side of life.
How do we get stuck in the shadow? Why are we not born knowing these things?
We know them when we're born, but then we get conditioned and programmed by society, by the schooling system, by our family. This is the acceptable version of you. The other version can't be sitting at this table right now.
But why does this happen? Society is there for us to live as civilized people, right? Why?
The same reason you have to go through toxic relationships and accumulate that dark information to then pop through that. It's a birth. It's a rebirth. You're giving birth to new versions of yourself all the time. But the only way you can give birth to yourself is if you go through something that's hard. It's a class.
The darkness.
It's like calculus. Of course, I want to do 1 + 1 the rest of my life, but that's not how I'm going to develop. So in order to evolve, I have to attract negative experiences to myself to figure out what I like and what I don't like from a place of authenticity. And if I don't like it, then I need to find my power and pop through that. And now I'm a new version of myself. And now I'm in a new classroom. So this is how it works.
How do you explain consciousness?
I would say it's all that is. Everything that's ever been, is, and will be. It's the light. But the light, it's the informational side of the light. The light just is. It's everything. It's pure.
But it's how you tap into the light and then execute.
You can't grab the light. It's so pure that you can't grab it. It just is, right? But our physical experiences and who we become is through our consciousness.
I've seen my light. I think you might understand what I mean by that.
Yeah.
I've seen my light.
Yeah.
It was through an experience. And when you say that, I know exactly what it is. And I felt myself in that space. And it was a very feminine energy, very soft, very loving, very open, very embracing, all those things. But it's hard to bring that light or to move through that light every single day with everything that we learn through our conditioning, through fear, through survival, all of the minutia that exists for all of us.
It's so true. Think of consciousness as it's all around us. It's an intelligence. It's God in motion. It's all around us. Are we listening? Because we're always being guided, always. But I think a good reframe for what you just said is it doesn't have to be hard. It's easy. It's who I am. I am light. It doesn't have to be hard. It's what I am. What's hard is the resistance to what you know you need to do.
So this episode with Phil was so raw and real that people within my own family actually were a little upset with me about it because it's not light what he says. It's actually just very honest, but it takes that form of honesty in order to have a real breakthrough. His wisdom about intuition, about alignment reminded me that peace isn't found by trying to control everything. In fact, it can only be found when you can trust and surrender. It's found through listening, by slowing down and letting life meet us where we are. Across these 3 conversations, I've learned that spirituality isn't something that we chase. It's something that we remember. And at certain pivotal moments in our lives, I think we come into it more because we're listening, we're searching for these messages. And if we can quiet these moments, if we can pause, if we can breathe and reconnect with ourselves, spirituality just becomes this effortless part of our lives. Together, all these moments have taught me that breaking through really is not about escaping life's challenges. It's about meeting it with honesty, with an open heart, with presence, with curiosity, so that we can actually witness ourselves as we transform into the next version, hopefully a version that's more aligned. So if this journey has taught me anything, it's that we are all still becoming. And that's really just the most beautiful part, allowing yourself to be. I always say, I'm never going to be this version of me again. So let me be with her as much as I can. Thank you guys for being with me, being here, for listening, for growing with me, and so many more breakthrough moments still to come. Thank you so much for tuning in to Breaking Through with Ellina Obervian. For our community to grow, please like and share, and also leave a review on this episode. Of course, you can find me on social media and let me know what you'd like to talk about in future episodes. Nothing is off limits, so let's have some fun.